Hi, my name is Lachlan Wilmot and I'm the Strength and Power Coach here at the GWS Giants. Over the past couple of episodes with this season, what we've started to look at is how we can start to introduce and build up plyometric or jump land training with our injured athlete. One that's coming back or returning to play and performance, making sure that they're getting good at their force absorption again, making sure that they're getting good at their concentric power, and then pushing that end stage rehab to make sure that we give them every chance possible when they return back into their sport. So what we looked at last episode is based around separating our eccentric landing forces and our concentric force production. So making sure that Maddie can get good at jumping without worrying about landing, and then getting good at landing without worrying about jumping. Now she's progressed to putting it all together. So we're going to utilize a hurdle here and start to look at how she can get some concentric power and absorbing that eccentric landing as well. Introducing her to the concept of both combined and making sure that her hip, knee and ankle joints are going to be up to the task. Because like we talked about, it's really important to understand that when we're returning to play and returning to performance, it's exceptionally hard to load one joint in isolation. We need to make sure that we start to introduce all of the joints together and make sure we do it slowly. Build a good foundation to make sure that we don't injure our athletes during their return to play. So we're taking all the cues that we've had in the previous episodes, looking around Maddie's arm movement, her knee position, her active landing, all those important factors, and bringing them into this hurdle jump. It looks very simple in nature, but it's very important to make sure that our athletes are really good at this movement before progressing them on. The hurdle simply sits there as a minimum jump, making sure that we can keep them accountable every time. We can start to progress the height as they get better at it, but we still should be encouraging them to jump with some good intensity over the hurdle, even if they're clearing it by quite a lot. Let's look at Maddie now demonstrate a nice simple hurdle jump, and we'll start to talk through some of the cues as she goes. Maddie, let's go for it. So get tall, arms up like we've talked about, tall, absorb, step over and hit. Good, reset. You can see with that, Maddie's knees started to come together a little bit, so we still need to utilize that cue that we used with our high or tall to short landings, where we're pushing those knees out. Make sure our glutes and our arse are doing the work. Here we go. Tall, absorb and stick. Good, nice aggressive landing, active position. Well done. Another thing you'll start to see people do is instead of lifting their feet up, they shift their feet to the side, left or right. Most of the time it's them thinking about trying to clear the hurdle, so it's really encouraging to try and make sure that the cue is jump as high as you can, don't worry about the hurdle. Just jump as high as you can every time you go over the hurdle. So with that one, Maddie, let's go high as we can, straight over. Stick it, really good, much nicer. So you can see her feet stabilize a little bit and she can start to focus on that landing a little bit more. Again, a couple of the cues that we're really looking at with this is making sure that Maddie's preparing for the landing. She's not waiting for her foot to hit the ground and then absorb. She's already toeing up, exceptionally tight position, knees pushing out, and she knows she's going to hit the floor. She's ready and she's active. There's a big difference for our progressions from someone that just waits to land and sinks into it versus someone that has that active landing position. Also, you'll notice Maddie using her arms quite a bit. She's getting tall with her arms when her hips are forward, and she's sinking back and throwing those arms into position when she's dropping that pelvis. So our next progression now is a single leg landing. So Maddie's going to be taking off with two legs, but landing with one. This can be quite challenging for some athletes, so make sure A, they're ready for it, but B, you coach and cue them exceptionally well and make sure they get it right before progressing to the next exercise. Maddie's going to give us a bit of a demonstration of that now, so let's have a look. Getting tall, over and stick. Well done, good. So you can see Maddie's knee trying to compensate, it wants to go in, she's trying to force it out, and she can be a little bit more aggressive with those arms to make sure that she lifts that center of mass up so she can stick that landing a bit better. Up and stick, much nicer, good. So it's okay to let your athlete fight in that bottom position. Even if they look unstable, if they're hitting good angles, let them fight, let them try and hold that position and keep cueing that knee. Tall, up and stick. Well done, really good pop. So our next progression with this series is going to be a single leg hop over this mini hurdle, making sure we're utilising all the same cues. She's mastered the jump off 2 legs, land with 1, so now we're going to challenge that takeoff as well. Start to get good positions off a single leg. So Maddie, let's have a little bit of a look. So get tall again, up and stick. Well done. What we want to try and look for is a little bit more heel recovery with our athletes. So we want to encourage them to bring the heel up to their bum and a little bit of that cyclical movement like you would see in a sprint, but making sure we have an active hamstring, that hamstring pulling that shank up, making sure that they're really strong. Get tall, absorb, up, absorb. Best one, good, really good. So over the past 3 progressions, you can see how we've started to introduce that concentric and eccentric portion of the jump and land progression. And we're making sure that each time we're challenging Maddie with her progression, but we're also giving her time to learn it and adjust and make sure she's getting those positions. Of note, the landing position is always going to be the most important. The concentric portion of the takeoff is obviously an important part, but that's not usually where people stuff up. Usually it's going to be that landing portion, so give your athlete time and make sure you get the foundation in there.